Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Hi, this is Anne DeSantis, and this is Journeys in Faith here on Fiat Ministry Network. Great to be here with you. I have an amazing guest for you this evening. I have Brendan Lyons. He is a Catholic author from the greater Philadelphia area where I'm from, and he's also been a guest already on two of my other shows. One was a previous program that I did on RVN TV called The Positive Side, so he was a guest there. He was also a guest on the Sowing Hope podcast on Patchwork Heart Ministry with my co-host and I, Bill Snyder. So welcome, Brendan. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you. Thanks for having me here. Obviously, it's a good time. I keep coming back. So that's very nice of you guys to keep having me back, or well, you to keep having me back.
Well, I love the work that you're doing, and you're a man of faith. And I know we have a lot to talk about during this half-hour show. Why don't we just start out with your faith and your family, you and your lovely wife, and I know your little daughter. So tell us about your family.
Yeah, well, my wife and I have been married for about not quite a half, 4 and a couple months, 4 years. And my daughter is about 17 months old. And that's been quite a blessing. You know, I come from a very faith-filled family. And so does my wife. So it's really, we have several generations of very strongly practicing Catholics. I like to say that both her parents and my parents are 3 for 3, because my wife and her 2 brothers and myself, my brother and sister, all still practicing Catholics. It's unfortunate to say that that's not always the case, but both sides of our family did really well in that, and I'm hoping to repeat that. So
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. I would like to read your bio for those who are getting to know you for the very first time, of course. So Brendan Lyons is a Catholic husband, father, and author. His books include the pro-life children's book, I Can Hear Music, pro-life short story collection, Single Candles, and the fantasy series, Book of Eden. Lyons is also the associate editor at the National Catholic Bioethics Center, where he works on the monthly ethics and medics periodical and the quarterly journal. We're going to talk about that as well. So I would also love to hear about how your daughter's doing and what she's up to, because when I first met you, your wife was still pregnant. So now your daughter has grown so much. Tell us about her.
Yeah, I think it was about halfway through the pregnancy that I was on for that first show. So I was, I had no real idea what was ahead of me. She's grown up fast. She is possibly the tallest 17-month-old I've ever seen. She's not, because she's like 85th percentile, but as far as my experience, she's gigantic, which means she can reach almost everything in our house. And she's great. She's got a lot of different words, down, off, no. She's got no already, done, and then she knows her grandparents' names, and it's really cool to see her start to put things together, as far as something she did just yesterday. It was earlier this week. We were reading a book, and she's really into pointing out shoes. So she open a book, and anybody who's wearing shoes, she goes shoes, point out all the shoes. Well, we were reading a book, and there was somebody who was cut off at the waist, and she pointed leg length below the page and went shoes. I was like, how did you it may not seem like much, but she was like, no, there's shoes would be there. So I was like, I would not have guessed that she could figure that out. I'm not an expert on child development, but I was pretty impressed. So yeah, she's doing great. She's running. She's telling us what she wants. It's not always making a whole lot of sense, but
So much fun, so
Yeah.
much fun. I mean, my children are in their 20s now, but takes me back. And I think it's just one of the most precious times of parenthood when you can watch your child grow just like day by day, week by week with those little things that they're little things, but really they're very big things. So especially when you get to get a front row seat, right? That's the most
Yeah.
amazing thing.
I think,
So
sorry, I think my favorite thing about it right now is that that's very, very now specific is when she gets mad at us, it's kind of funny. As the kids get older, it gets less funny.
that's right. That's right. And
Teenagers
you
are
know,
mad at you, it's not so good. But the 17-month-old, she just walks around going rah, 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 rah. So it's I want to make her happy again too, but it's sometimes I'm kind of holding back a little bit of a chuckle because of the way she's expressing herself.
make sure you journal it. And in fact, I'm glad that we're doing this episode and talking a little bit about her, because it'll be a little keepsake for you later on that you can watch the video and maybe even show her in a long time from now. So I'm glad that we did that too.
Yeah, well, my wife keeps she keeps a journal of everything
Good.
that she says. So every time we get a new word, sometimes we miss a day and we're catching up. And there's like a new one every day now.
So much fun.
Sometimes 2 or 3, so it's hard to keep up with. But
I know that when you have a child that age, that it's hard to talk about anything else other than your little daughter or son. So thank you so much again for sharing. We're gonna have to have a part 2 where we talk more about that. But I thought we could spend a little bit of time talking about your full-time work. And of course, we're going to spend the rest of the show after that talking about your books and about your writing. You're the associate editor at the National Catholic Bioethics Center in Philadelphia. I know exactly where that is. And you work on the monthly ethics and medics periodical and the quarterly journal. Tell us about your work.
Yeah, it's a really interesting job. And I'm going to throw out there, I kind of have this job in part because of Anne. Well, thank you. I have been laid off it was about 13 months ago. And I put out everything was kind of chaotic at the time. And so I just threw out, hey, so everybody knows if anyone's hiring, I could use a full-time job. And Anne reached out to someone she knew, who then connected me with the editor-in-chief at the NCBC. And so that's how I got the interview, and then the interview went well, and that's how I got the job. So, I'm very appreciative of the help you've given me, and it's been amazing. I started a year ago yesterday.
Wow.
So,
wow, that went fast.
Yeah, I know, right? When it came up, I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. It has been a year. So, but it's great work. Most of what I do is reviewing so we have the Ethics and Medics, which is a monthly journal. And then we have the quarterly journal, which is just the National Catholic Bioethics Quarterly. Clever name. And so it's usually, I guess you would say it's it's a biomedical journal. It's a little bit of Catholic philosophy, a little bit of medicine, and a lot of ethics. So I spend a lot of time, I guess I get to read. I've read so many papal encyclicals since I started that I didn't even know how many there were. I mean, I don't know how many there are now, but I'm like inundated with them now. One of my coworkers, he just rattles them off. He's like, "Oh, did you mean Gaudium et Spes?" And I'm like, "No, you must have meant Quadricio Anno." And I was like, I don't think that's maybe, but
You're getting, in other words, you're getting your theology and then some at your job. But thank you for telling us about it, because I'm really blessed that I was able to help you, and it made my heart just kind of swell a little bit just to hear that things are so well, and that you and your wife are doing well, and your job is working out. So thank you so much for sharing on that.
Oh, right. You're welcome. Thank you. Hey, I want to throw in one more thing, because it's really big. I know one of the biggest things that we do is actually not something that I am involved with, but we employ a lot of people who are doctors of ethics and medical ethics, and they have a a phone number you can call. If you go on the ncbcenter.org, the phone number's there. If you're in the medical field and you have a question of, a procedure that you think might be unethical or something, you can call in and talk to them, and they'll actually help you through it. So that's really one of the most amazing things they do. And I know there's a lot of questions, especially right now, whether somebody can be compelled to get a vaccine, whether the vaccine's okay to get, a lot of that has to do a little bit with your own conscience, but it really helps to have somebody else to walk through that with you. So I would encourage anybody who's, especially in the healthcare field, who wants to, talk through this with somebody who knows what they're talking about, give them a call.
Oh, I think that's just great. In fact, my mind was going right there. As soon as you said it, my mind went there. So can you say the phone number? Do you know it offhand?
I don't know it offhand.
Okay, but look it up online. I'm just encouraging everybody. So the National Catholic Bioethics Center in Philadelphia, look it up, Google it, call if you have any questions. As he said, he brought up the idea with the vaccines. I'm sure they get a lot of calls about that. Brendan, thank you for bringing that up.
Of course, it's an important thing right now. So.
It really is. I'm sure that they've gotten doubly busy because of it.
Yes, and it's been a point of contention. And I'm not I'm not gonna pretend like I'm an expert on it or even talk about where I come down on certain things, because it really is about your conscience. But talking to someone who's an expert, that'll help you. That'll help you a lot.
Great advice. Great advice. Now we do have to take a short commercial break. So for the rest of the show, you have to keep an eye. You have to come back because Brendan is going to talk about his writing. And I can tell you firsthand that I just love his book. So keep an eye. We'll be back here in a few minutes here on Journeys in Faith.
Today, many students go to college with numerous questions about their faith, yearning to know if the seed planted in them as a child is both true and practical. Using the miracle on the road to Emmaus as a model, young adult ministers conversed weekly for 3 months with college students about the most pressing questions they had about the Catholic faith. As they journeyed together virtually, something amazing happened. Doubts disappeared, fears faded, and Jesus revealed that He is still alive. Hearts Burning Within Us, the latest book from Patchwork Heart Ministry, is a result of that grace-infused conversation. It is the perfect back-to-school gift for recent high school graduates and current college students. Get your copy for them today at patchworkheart.org or by calling 424-704-3278. That's 424-704-3278.
Welcome back to Journeys in Faith, and I hope you enjoyed that commercial break. I'm here again with my friend Brendan Lyons. He's a father, a husband, a Catholic author, and he also works at the National Catholic Bioethics Center, which is what we were just talking about right before the break. Was there anything else that you wanted to share on that before we talk about your writing?
No, just, if you have an ethical quandary, give them a call. It's always a good idea.
That's very good. Very good. Now, your two books, and I'm going to, tell our audience here what they're called. One is I Can Hear Music. It's a pro-life short story collection, and then Single Candles and the fantasy adventure series Book of, now I want to pronounce it correctly. Is it Book of Iden?
It is I. Yes.
Iden. Okay. So tell us first, let's talk about I Can Hear Music.
So yeah, I Can Hear Music is a children's book that I was just, I actually have out here.
Good.
I was in the process of, I had written it and I was getting it illustrated when I first I came on your first show.
Yes.
So it's been a great experience. I love to get feedback from people whose kids loved it, and I think part of it is being a father now, but really just there's something great about the joy a kid can get, because it's, they don't get mad at you if your next book doesn't go the way they want it to. They just love the book that you gave. So,
Daddy's book.
Exactly.
Daddy's book.
So I Can Hear Music is, it's a lot about his business and picture.
Yeah, please show us.
Yeah. So it's about the way we develop hearing in the womb, which I didn't know. There's a nice picture. I was not aware how early hearing develops in the womb. It's by 23 weeks, a baby can actually start to hear and remember things that they hear. So I wanted to write a story about that journey that would both inform people and also really reveal the dignity of that child in the womb, because we're not just talking about something that's growing. We're talking about something that's someone who is learning.
Someone, that's
exactly.
right.
So we, people who are, especially people who are pro-abortion, they want to make an argument of like, we're talking about a thing that's growing. Well, no, we're talking about a person who's growing and a person who's learning, because that's the thing you can't really admit if you're pro-abortion, that you have somebody whose mind is growing, because that's like, well, it's not a person yet. Well, we're talking about someone who's learns sound, learns and remembers them afterwards. I remember my daughter my wife's a cantor, and my daughter used to kick when she would sing the holy, holy, holy in church.
I remember you telling me this.
Oh yeah. So, and right after she was born, when we went into COVID, come on the television and she would crane her neck trying to see the sound. She remembered that sound. Mm-hmm. So that's what I wanted to impart. And I wanted to impart this fact that you could be bonding with your child. Dads, you can be bonding with your child because your child will be able to hear. Kids, your sibling, they can hear you. After kids, I think about 32 weeks, the register of kids' voices, that kid can hear. So you don't have to wait until that baby is born. Mom, of course, day one, you're bonding with that child. Some of it's unpleasant in the morning, but that's bonding. That's going through something together. So, it's that, that's the story I wanted to tell. And my wife is a musician, I'm a musician, so it just seemed like a natural fit.
Well, it's amazing, and I've read the book, and the illustrations are just so great. So people are watching, maybe their parents themselves, maybe their grandparents, and they want to buy a book, or someone who's expecting. Tell us how they can get the book.
Well, you can get it on most online retailers. Sorry.
Okay.
So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Christian Book, and Books A Million all have it. I've been trying to get into a couple Catholic bookstores, but I actually don't have them around here. There's a number in Texas. At first I was like, Texas really is interested in this book. But then, the heartbeat bill passed and I was like, well, of course, Texas isn't really interested in this book. So, but for the moment, at least, it's online mostly. And that's the easiest way to get it. And
just Google it, right? Do you, Brendan, you have a
Mm-hmm.
website yourself? Do you have a personal website?
I don't. I should, and I'm looking into making one, but right now I'm kind of not tech savvy. But
no, I understand.
Yeah.
So what you can do is just like the name of the book is I Can Hear Music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, by Brendan Lyons, and please, just Google it, check it out, get it. It's a great book.
It should be the first result. I've tested it on different computers.
Awesome, good to hear. Now, what about your second book? Tell us about that.
We talk about single candles actually came
Yeah,
first.
single candles is
Sorry.
first. Okay, so let's
Yeah,
go back
so
to single candles then.
yeah, well, so that was a short story collection created more for high schoolers,
Mm,
and it's kind of, I mean, you're familiar, and I'm sure the viewers are familiar with the phrase, "If it's better to light a single candle than curse the darkness," and
yes.
that's the theme of the book. It's 5 short stories, and each one lights the candle of the next one. So it kind of it goes into how we can influence somebody else's, both like their faith journey and both their pro-life journey, because it is a pro-life and it's mainly centers around the abortion issue, but it also comes in some end-of-life issues, and then also it's like prisoners. There's a prisoner on death row who happens to be in the, so I try to deal a lot with, revealing that dignity of people. So at all ages. And so that's what I can do. Music is about, and that's what Single Candles is about. So, and Single Candles is largely based on, they're not true stories, but they're all based on something that really happened. And at the end of each one, there's a little true story about something similar that happened to the story. So, yeah.
Awesome. Now, is it the same thing? Should they just Google the name and they'll be able to find the book?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If you use Single Candles, Brendan Lyons, that'll pop up. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, then you got one more, the Book of Iden. And so I'd love to hear about this because this is one I don't know as much about. So I can't wait.
That was actually, and yeah, we're actually working backwards. That was my first.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
First book published. It's a fantasy adventure, and it's something that that was when I wanted to be the next Tolkien or C.S. Lewis. I'll settle for just being Brendan now, but as a fantasy epic with a lot of Christian themes of redemption, but also it touches on a bit of masculinity from a Catholic standpoint. I know that masculinity has a tendency to have a bad rap when we talk about it in terms of like, oh, men dominating everything. But no, it's more about strength and being strong for people who need it.
That's important. Yeah, especially today, I think people need that. They need to hear about that because there is something to be said for, standing for others and really caring for them and reaching out and that influence that we can have in our vocational lives and just in who we are as male, female, right? So, so thank you. Now, is that the same thing? So Book of Iden, they can look that up and find it online?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if you find me on Amazon, you'll find all those books.
Oh, good. Oh, well, that's easy enough. Just go to Amazon and you can key in Brendan's name. So it's BrendanLyons, correct?
Right.
I think I got that right.
That's correct. Yeah.
So no, you're doing amazing work. Now, what about for the future? Are you going to be doing any more writing? Anything happening?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Well, I've got 2 things. I've got one thing in the works and one thing that's new. The thing in the works and my next children's book is going to be called Daddies Are for Climbing. And that's because my daughter climbs all over me. And that's something we used to say. But it's basically a book about what a Catholic father especially, is for. So yeah, he has to be strong. You can climb him, but he has to have fortitude. When you're hurt, he needs to be there. And when you don't know what to do, he needs to be able to help you learn what to do. So that's very early stages, but I'm really excited about it.
No, I can't wait. We'll have to stay in touch and have another interview once that's finished. Any projections of when? Oh, next year?
I hope next year. I don't know.
I
couldn't tell you when. So there's that. And then the other thing I have that I just started coming out with, this is, it's actually a series, but it's not a series of novels. It's a series of, so this is I think it's backwards. So this is a prayer prompt journal, which it's 28 Catholic prayers. This one is for fallen away loved ones. So that's why it's Spirit of Saint Monica. The series I've been calling Spirit of Prayer. Pretty simple. But what it is, it's a bunch of prompts. This short prompts. So this is prayer of intentions. so this is starting out with praying that your intentions are fully in line with God's. And so the reason I started doing this is several times when I was writing books, I found the best way to get through writer's block or a hard moment was to just write down my prayers. I found that the way I tried to express what I was stuck on to God could either help me with the next story or next part of the story, or even just help me with a problem that I was having just in my regular life. So I started doing these journals. There's this one, there's one for St. Joseph, which is based on the litany of St. Joseph, which I love. I say every Wednesday, every Wednesday morning, I do the litany. And actually Thursdays seem to be a very successful day for me. I've gotten, for whatever it is, if a good thing happens, it seems to happen on Thursdays, the day after I do the litany for St. Joseph. So there's that one. And then I have St. Francis, the CC, a little bit on the prayer of that. So, and also the litany of humility I'm working on. So what I try to do with these is just really like either take the lives of the saints or take the prayers themselves, break them out line by line, and give you an idea of how to pray deeply on each line. And then, so like just each little piece and expanding the depth of that and the depth of faith that goes into it. And so you can explore that, and you write your part, you look at the prompt, you kind of pray on that, you write down, the prayer that it makes you feel, and then you can keep that and you just go back and pray it. I've done that with some prayers that I've written, and I've been like, that really meant something to me. So I go back and I'll pray it later when a similar issue comes up. So I really want to encourage people to pray. And that's
it's so important. I mean, prayer is that connection with God. It's our openness to him, and well, he's always open to us, but I mean, it's that communication, right? And it's listening, and it is a little talking, but mostly a lot of listening. So thank you for all that you're doing, because that helps other people to grow, right? And it helps yourself too. I'm sure it helps yourself a lot.
I think it really helps. I think sometimes we feel like we're getting stuck saying the same prayers over and over again. And I have to credit my wife for this, because she came up with every night we pray with my daughter, and we're supposed to do like here's my special intention. Here's something different that I want to pray for that I hadn't thought about before. So basically every day we're thinking about something. We're trying to think about something new to pray for. And so that was part of the impetus for this, is like, how can we help each other thinking about like either new to pray for or a new way to pray for something, because that's going to help you. I mean, God already knows, God's got it, but God works through your mind and your heart. So you use your heart and your mind to pray and find different ways to pray. You're gonna come up with something that helps you.
That's excellent advice. So thank you. I want to thank you for being on the show. Unfortunately, we almost are out of time. It's a half-hour show, but we're going to have you back again for part two of Journeys in Faith sometime. So do you have any final words before we end, Brendan?
No, just thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be on your shows and talk with you.
Oh, Brendan, thank you so much. Please say hi to your wife, your daughter, your friends, family. And you'll see Brendan again, and we'll see all of you here next week on Journeys in Faith. God bless.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.